Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Mr. Payne bringing you Unit 8, Lesson 6, the zeros of a quadratic. Objective, you will be able to factor and identify the zeros, or the roots of this quadratic. The x locations on any function where the output, the y-coordinate, is equal to 0 are known, not surprisingly, as the zeros of the function. These are amazingly important in applied settings. When they are rational numbers, then they can be found using factoring technique. We'll develop the idea in the first exercise. Exercise number 1. Consider the quadratic function y equals x squared minus 2x minus 3. Its graph below. What are the zeros of the function? Write their x values and circle them on the graph. So the first thing I'm going to do is take a look at and see, in a nice orange, where my roots are. Let's remember that my roots are where the quadratic crosses the y or the x-intercept. So it crosses where I circle them at x equals negative 1 and at x equals 3. Verify that the positive 0 is correct by showing that y equals 0. So I'm going to go ahead and plug in the number 3. 3 squared minus 2 times 3 minus 3 equals 0. Let's go ahead and do the math. 3 squared is 9. 9 minus 6 is 3. 3 minus 3 is 0. So left side equals 0 and the right side equals 0. That's how I know that the root is true. C. Factor the expression x squared minus 2x minus 3. How do these factors compare to the zeros? So what I would like you to do is I would like you to do 2 parentheses. I'm going to say x and x. Remember my factoring unit. Bring down the minus. It's going to be plus. So what times what gives me 3 subtracts to 2, 3 and 1. I want you to take a look at this. I want you to notice what my roots are. See how this says negative 3 and that says positive 1, and my roots are the opposite? That will always be true. So if I know this is negative 3, I know one of my roots is going to be positive 3. And if this is positive 1, I know my root is going to be negative 1. And here's how you can tell that real easily. We're going to set it up and tee it up, I call this. I'm going to set each one of these to 0. X minus 3 equals 0, and x plus 1 equals 0. And when you solve for x on both sides, you're going to add 3 on the left there, and add 3 on the right, so I'm going to get x equals 3. And on the right, if I subtract 1 on both sides, I'll get x equals negative 1. D. Based on C, determine where the zeros of y equals x squared plus 3x minus 10 are algebraically. Verify using a table. Well, I want to do this algebraically, like he said, so do 2 parentheses. Let's break it up. X and x plus minus 5, 2. Now if I were to go ahead and tee this up, set it equal to 0, x plus 5 equals 0, x minus 2 equals 0, and if I'm solving for x, I would get x equals negative 5 and x equals 2 for my 2 roots. What is really going on here is perhaps the second most important equation solving technique, known as the zero product law. If 2 or more quantities have a product of 0, then at least one of them must be equal to 0. In symbolic form, if a times b equals 0, then either a equals 0 or b equals 0, or both are 0. Use the zero product law to find all solutions to each of the following equations. So let's go ahead and take care of a. Just like I did in the beginning, and I showed you briefly about teeing it up. These are already factored, so I can go ahead and tee it up. On the left, I'm going to have x plus 7 equals 0, and on the right, x minus 2 equals 0. If I want to get rid of that plus 7, I do minus 7 on both sides. X equals negative 7. Plus 2 on both sides. X equals 2. Now, one of the things that you have to be conscious of is sometimes the directions may say, give me the positive root or give me the negative root. So just be conscious of that and make sure you give the proper root for your answer. Let's try B. Tee it up, right down between the parentheses. And I'm going to have 2x minus 1 equals 0. 3x plus 4 equals 0. Add 1 on both sides. I'm going to get 2x equals 1. Divide by 2. X is going to equal 1/2. Minus 4 on both sides. 3x equals negative 4. Divide by 3. Divide by 3. X is going to equal negative 4/3. A couple of things to always remember is when you tee this up, you always want to set it equal to 0. I don't want you taking any shortcuts in the beginning. You'll have plenty enough time to learn this well enough where you can take shortcuts. But for now, let's practice teeing it up all the way. This exercise 3 is a great review from the factoring unit. We are going to do each type of factoring and show you each way on how to tee it up. So stay with me. Let's look at number A. My A equals 1, so I can go ahead and just do 2 parentheses. X and X plus minus. What times what gives me 12, subtracts to give me 4. It's going to give me 6 and 2. I'm going to go ahead and tee it up. And both are going to be equal to 0. So x plus 6 equals 0. X minus 2 equals 0. Minus 6 on both sides. X equals negative 6. Add 2 on both sides. X will equal positive 2. Let's go to B. I see in B that I have a GCF because it's a binomial. So I'm going to say, all right, my GCF is 2x. I'm going to divide by 2x, divide by 2x, put 2x out in front of my parenthesis. Like I said, this is really good review from the factoring unit. 2x squared divided by 2x is going to give me x, minus 14x divided by 2x is going to give me 7. I want you to pay close attention to where I divide this guy up. I know there isn't 2 sets of parentheses, but I'm going to divide it up right between my terms. So I have 2x equals 0, and x minus 7 equals 0. 2 divided by 2, x is going to equal 0 on this case. And on this side, it's going to be plus 7, x will equal 7. C. I have a DOPS problem. XX plus minus 5, 5. Tee it up. X plus 5 equals 0. X minus 5 equals 0. Minus 5, minus 5. X equals negative 5. Plus 5, plus 5. X equals positive 5. D is going to be our hardest one. D, there is no GCF, so I have to use the AC method. So don't forget, my AC will give me 2 times 12 will equal 24. So I'm going to rewrite the beginning, 2x squared. Now I'm going to ask myself, what times what gives me 24 subtracts to give me 5? So I know that 8 times 3 gives me 24 and subtracts to give me 5. So I'm going to say plus 8x minus 3x minus 12. Don't forget I got these signs. My positive came down. My negative told me that they should be different. Now I can go ahead and continue with the process. Pull my GCF. My GCF there is 2x. What's left? X plus 4. Pull my GCF. Negative 3. x plus 4. What do I have common? Alright, so I'm going to pull that x plus 4 out in front. Let's write down what I have left over. I have 2x minus 3 left over. Tee it up right down the middle. I'm going to have x plus 4 equals 0 and 2x minus 3 equals 0. If I solve it, the left-hand side is going to give me x equals negative 4. On the right-hand side, if I do plus 3 on both sides, bring down my 2, it's going to give me 2x equals 3. Divide by 2, sorry I'm squishing this in, x is going to give me 3 halves. Exercise 4, find the zeros of the quadratic y equals 3x squared minus 6x minus 24. And this is also a new product, a new problem because there's a GCF here. My GCF is going to give is 3. So I'm going to divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. Why this is unique is that 3 is going to go outside of my parentheses. X squared minus 2x minus 8. Now I see inside I still have a trinomial. Give me 2 parentheses. X and x minus plus. What times what gives me 8? Subtracts to give me 2, 4, and 2. Go ahead and tee it up. Watch now how I tee this guy up. It's a new one. Tee it up here because that's a term. Tee it up here because that's a term. So on the left-hand side, I have 3 equals 0. That can't happen, so I reject that. Reject. On the middle, I have x minus 4 equals 0, plus 4 on both sides. X equals 4. On the right-hand side, I have x plus 2 equals 0, minus 2 on both sides. X equals negative 2. So why is this one special is because of this part right here. I have that GCF out front. I still tee it up there. I still tee it up there. So I have 3 sections now. That first guy says 3 equals 0. That can't happen. 3 is not, it can't equal 0, so we're going to reject it. And then you solve the rest of the way. If you want, when you get a chance, go ahead and just check our answer here by graphing it into our calculator and hitting graph and seeing if my roots are positive 4 and negative 2. Have a good evening. Thank you very much.